Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome back to the Alchemist and Oracle, a space where we engage in spiritualized conversations that deepen understanding, inspire for transformation, and spark meaningful dialogues about life's most profound truths. I am Nicole Love, the Oracle, and I am joined by my amazing co-host, Warrioress Ardeshir RN, also known as the Alchemist. Say hello, my dear, so they can hear you vocally on the podcast.
How y'all doing?
So welcome to the Alchemist and Oracle. Today we are getting into conversation around a question of, is being yourself, the question is it always the answer to be yourself? So we're going to be talking about authenticity, self-authenticity, things along that nature. So let's get in today's episode, today's conversation. And my dear Warrioress, Ardeshir RN, I was like, what is she? The Alchemist here. She's going to lead us off and we're going to talk about the what. And she's going to talk about the what. I'm going to talk about the why. And here we go. Now I sit back and listen.
And a recent story. Hi, y'all. Thanks for being here with us today. Really appreciate you. Really do. If you have any comments, just put them in the comment section. Right now, I'm going to begin talking about what it is and what it means to connect with your authentic self, which I think is really key here, especially during this time and in this moment. And then I have a story on what it feels like to deny that part of you, which is an innate thing, and you get all these signs. And Tuesday was an example, and for that I have made a commitment to never dismiss it. So we'll get there later. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be basing some of my information off of a book by The Way of Mastery. And then briefly from
who's that by?
Yeah, I'm going to get to that. The Way of Mastery is by the Shantai Crystal Foundation. And that book you have to order through Shantai. That's SHANTI, Crystal, CHRISTO Foundation. And then I will also be speaking from A Course in Miracles, which is short for ACIM. I think that's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't really like acronyms, but that's it. So A Course in Miracles, and a book that I got to, that most of us were when we started our training, word training with Iana Van Zant, was a book called The Sacred Yes by the Reverend Deborah Johnson. And this is nothing like what you would think, but when you're being told something, it's the innate creator self in you. So let me go with the definition of what it means, or connecting with your authentic self. So in this, and I can agree, connecting with your authentic self means surrendering to the inner divine guidance that you have, allowing your true, powerful essence, the divine spark. And in this, I'm going to define Christ, or Christ consciousness, which is the mind, to guide your actions. And I normally talk about that when I'm talking about driving, but it needs to be honored in every aspect of your life, that intuitiveness and speaking from your heart, which is the courageous act of aligning your inner truth, leading to profound healing purpose and a luminous, powerful life beyond the personality ego. And if you, I believe in some of my other stuff, we're talking about limiting beliefs and things that I've talked about on my IG channel at Warriors Ardeshir, is I'm about the ego. Concentrate on transforming and transcending the ego, because it can't go away. It's just there. It's not about dropping the fight. It's about trusting the inner flow and fully being present as the radiant being you are amidst life challenges. Yes, we can get those challenges. Now, in The Way of Mastery is similar, but it's also for different, because I like bringing different points and perspective. It's also about connecting with your authentic self, and that involves recognizing you're more than the mind stories that we tell ourselves. It's just like unworthiness and things that's a lie, because you're worthy. We're all worthy. Stepping into conscious presence aligning with the love, not fear, and understanding your unique expression within oneness. Because we talk about oneness, and if you get into, if anybody know anything about Bob Marley, this is what he was getting into, the oneness that we all are in creation. Essentially realizing you are the conscious awareness behind the story, distinguishing your unique form from universal substance, as discussed in the way it's also discussed in the A Course in Miracles, and the Way of Mastery. Now, in the Way of Mastery, it discusses this, connecting with your authentic by emphasizing the unconditional self-love, releasing the ego, or transcending it, which is what I service doing with others, achieving a deep self-acceptance and recognizing your inherent oneness with Creator, God, the love, the love. That's the one part in the way. Then when the Way of Mastery talks about the way of the heart, that's a connection in there, and it heavily focuses on purifying the mind and the erroneous thoughts that we have, and cultivating the love as a foundation for the authentic connection, essentially seeing through the illusions to the true self. Ego is an illusion that comes from us. So with that being said, I'm going to give a little bit of example of defining the true nature of yourself, which is that true intuition. But I was really tired, and it didn't make any sense that I had to leave my house to do what I was trying to do to save a measly funds. And that's what I'm going to say, because I'm still processing. But and denying it was getting messages and messages that in a call that I made, which was not the right number, and not listening to what was going on and how this was transpiring, and not connecting it to after the hoodwinkingness had happened. And even in the midst of it, I got signs of what to do. And when you don't listen to it, you pay the price. I'm telling you, pay the price. It wasn't the price that most people have paid, but I have something that I can probably share after I figure out how I want to articulate it without and feeling some kind of way about it. So I wanted to share that, because that is the true self that tells you when something is freaking wrong, you know. It's the unconditional surrender of saying yes to the inner voice. And that inner voice was telling me something wasn't right. And after I was in this happy-go-lucky spirit and all these things, but it really sucked. And I realized how abundant, prosperous, and I'm walking it out, that it was, and that a huge particular discount had already been made. So, without saying kind of what it was, but it was not listening, and even locked myself out the car door. And that was an example of how that particular call should have transferred was to hang the hell up. So,
sorry.
And so, yeah. So when you're looking at that and tying to the authenticity that you are, is listening. So we have to get out the word. We talk about that. So when we listen to that, it's just like when I use driving, when some tell you to go a different way, go a different way. Or when you're about to make a left turn, or you think you're about to make this left turn, there's other car coming, you either make that left turn, and if you don't do it then, honey, you better hold back, because if not, an accident will occur. And a lot of left turn accidents occur because we think we can do something, or we're not able to judge. But we have to know ourselves to know that even what we're capable of behind the wheel, what we can and cannot do. And tying into what it means to do that is this internal, and it's beyond our personalities, beyond the ego, and the courage just to sit in who we are. Because the world tells us to be some other way, think some other way. This ain't right. Oh, this person is this, but you don't know that person's life. So, and not to condemn them, we'll judge, because it's like, for me, it's more of a concern of somebody. And if I see them walking down the street or something, and then I can sense this, or the way they're dressed, not my business. The fact that they have clothes on is a blessing, because some people can't have clothes in such a way that they desire. So we look at, fostering deep healing and unfolding and loving, self-love as a core. The sacred yes, I love is as an unconditional surrender. It has the for you to say yes to who you are. And most of the time, we sit with ourselves, or like when we're getting upset. For example, I use another one. I just happen to be somewhere that I like to be, and you hear somebody arguing or going at a place where they should be chilling, and you hear this conflict because if somebody wants to make a move, we and depending on what your status is, or this and that, if you're not, that somebody was arguing about whether they wanted to move and they wanted to make that, and other person's like, no, and then we don't have control over one another in such a way like that. So we have to allow people to be who they are and to move forward like that, and not to cause this whole drama and confusion that we call, but not allowing ourselves to be. And it's even what I understand, if somebody wants to move on from you, even in a relationship, we take it personally, but sometimes it could be for the best, or it can be because we love them that we let them go and move on to whatever it is that they need to move on to instead of holding on. Because, to be authentic, you can't make anybody love you or stay in love with you. That's a choice. And we have to be okay with that. And if we understand who we are, we have to love ourselves first and foremost. And once we have tapped into that, we don't need others to tell us who we are and how we're supposed to be. We know that inside is that tug and pull when you know what's going on. Also, let me get into, because in my other one, it talks about the true self, the Christ self. So I want to define Christ as I know it, and going through another program I experimented through metaphysically, what that means, even with the Lord, is Christ mind. So I have some notes here, and I particularly did this because I wanted it to be clear what that means. Is the spiritual principle in man, one man, which is the mind, Christ's mind, which is to talk about Christ's mind, Christ's self, is the sub creator in the universe and within us, the conscious source within us. It's almost like I say that intuition that tells me to go somewhere where I wouldn't have been held up for an hour and a half in a traffic accident, when it's telling me to go this way, which held me up, which means I would have been home in 30 minutes, or maybe even less than that, because I was like, oh, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. And second guessing and define what had been told to me like that. Also is the visible manifestation of the I am of Christ within you, the divine idea. So Yeshua is the name that represents the individual of the Christ idea. So they was talking about how Christ moved was from the mind perspective, how we think, how we treat one another, loving on somebody. For me, when they're down, just that innate thing to have that caring is Christ's mind. When somebody's moved over, I had a situation, I was just trying to do something and got off the interstate, and somebody stopped and asked me how I was doing. That's the love. That's the love of the Christ mind. And also, this I have here, and I wanted to read something here that also will help you understand. And let me see if these glasses will allow me to do it. It says a Christ or perfect man, which us is the ideal, eternally existing and divine mind. But this is what I wanted, is the true spiritual of the higher self of every individual. The higher self. Each of us has him meaning mind. We're not talking about male, female here. Him, the Christ, that just as Yeshua had, and we must look within to recognize and to realize our sonship, our divine origin and birth, even as Yeshua did. Jesus, Yeshua, I like Yeshua. By continuing to unify ourselves with the highest, by our thought and words, we too shall have that and become that. So it's about the mind, Christ's mind, how Christ walked in the world, or Yeshua. So that was about that, and how that name came about, because it's all about the mind and cultivating consciousness. Also is the process of becoming aware of your mind content, distinguishing your true self from the temporary forms, and allowing the Creator's love to shine unimpeded. on hold on, y'all. Just need a little fan here. So that's kind of um what I wanted to share and what that means, and to go deeper within yourself, because nobody can do it better than you, is to tap into yourself and how to do that, and the inner compass, and to sit and to kind of do the work, and the courage, which is giving yourself permission to be that and acting. And we can feel this inside ourselves when something isn't right. And sometimes we just dismiss that. Even when we're dating somebody, it's not right, but we choose to do that. But you have, once you know and then loved in yourself, then you don't have to settle for anything but the person that gels with you, for example, or things of that nature, or anybody in the world when it comes from friendship or anything like that. So, to sum it up, the authentic connection is presented in such a way to have you to do with the spiritual practice of trusting and listening. And that other day I just told you about was hearing and dismissing it for a little bit of something that didn't even happen, that cost me more, and knew something wasn't right. All I had to do was wait and be patient, because of the freak out energy. We freak out real prematurely, and everything came back when I saw it. I still didn't do it. So this was a huge wake up call on the lack of trusting myself in that moment, and realizing something was definitely not right about what was occurring and how I was being guided on that. And so that's kind of really what I wanted to share, and understanding. And I've given promise to my higher self that that would not happen, and that I would listen, and that I would trust. It's not that I haven't, but it's not for me to pick and choose how I listen and when I listen, you know. Ooh, so I'll take a pause there, take a breath there, because this is really special, and really means a lot that we do this as a people. Mm-hmm. And for mostly because I freaking care. I freaking care. As I said, you know, faith is not even about religion or anything. Faith is trust. Faith is knowing that there's somebody, whoever you tie to, there's some power greater than yourself. And I just lost my other thought that I was gonna say. That's pretty profound, but oh my God. And just trust me, I done lost it. I hate when that happens. So just staying on the real tip. Oh man, I forgot what I was gonna say, so I'm just gonna leave it there. I mean, it's so important. I know we'll get into why and what it is, and why. And I think I've gave some examples of why is that important, and how to walk in this world. Oh, I know I was gonna say the quote from that's on my shirt from Iyanla Van Zandt. So is faith. I forgot. What is this? It's choose faith. Being faith because struggle is optional.
Repeat that again. Faith because struggling is optional.
Optional, yeah.
Faith because struggling is optional. Okay, yeah. By Iyanla Van Zandt.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's on my shirt. That's the word. So, yeah, faith because struggle is optional. So yeah, it's and faith is all about trust. It's all about trust. It's all about believing and connecting with that self of you. And sometimes we don't even have to know. I go back to I didn't know. I mean, there was some that told me I would get the second expensive bike that I knew. I didn't know how it was going to be done. I just had to trust that it would be done. And beyond known to me, some of the things that I did as a child made it happen. And I'm like that excerpt that's in the what is that book called, or the movie they called the what was it called? That's something to do with the law of attraction. But anyway,
The Secret.
Yeah, The Secret.
What would you do without me?
Yeah. Thank you. That's what I got you. That's what's up. The secret and that kid that I couldn't believe it that they had brought up this kid dreaming about a bike.
Oh, wow.
That was it. And that for a year, I didn't know how I was going to get this swing. And I ended up getting the most expensive bike at the age of 12 and ended up unconsciously saving the money for it when everybody gave me whatever somebody gave me. I stashed it somewhere. And then I forgot about it until the time came up. And I had exactly the amount of money minus taxes, because I know crap about taxes at 12, to get this expensive $140 bike. And so, okay, I think that I give up. I might have gave up some I didn't mean to give up in that share, but yeah, so I was that person. It was just crazy how that actually can come about. So we just have to believe in believing in that divine being that you are, the love that you are, and tapping into it and undoctrinating yourself from the world as we know it, because it's definitely not serving us at all. And to understand who you are and to love you first. No one can love you better than you, because if you're not loving yourself, you're not going to be loved by anyone else in the way that you truly need to receive that love. Um, we all are love in our own right. We have things that happen to us that um, um, kind of interfere or kind of halt us, but it's all up here that we have to transform any hurts, any traumas or dramas and stuff that we've been through, so connecting to your authentic self is one of that things, and we'll go into, kind of how that happened. I'm gonna let my co-host kind of chime in. I know she has some great things to share in reference to why it's important.
Okay, so leaning in towards the microphone. That was a good start, because I think it's always important to talk about why it matters, these concepts. And I think she said a lot. So go back, re-listen, and like slowly unpack it here. So with that, I'm gonna build upon authentic self, authenticity from the standpoint of why. So when we look at the word itself, because I like looking at words. That's my vibe. I like to find the patterns, and that's how I find pattern recognitions and I'm able to articulate concepts. Yes. Authenticity. I will start with this. When I personally think of authenticity, I look at authenticity as a form of self-acceptance. And why that matters is that, and this is like my articulation, why that matters is when you have a level of self-acceptance, you see your value, number one. Number two, you see yourself. And then number three, you realize that you have always been you. So I think so many times we have all these distractions going around, like we're outwardly looking to feel like ourselves. And so through this process of self-acceptance, and it looks very different, and we'll kind of get into like how you can get there if we have time. But when you realize you have always been you, the opposite of that is that you have chosen to abandon yourself, to avoid yourself, and to quiet yourself. And so those are things that you start to realize when you start to go through this process of really sitting with who you are and understanding what that looks like, starting to accept the parts of who you are, start to accept how you respond to the world around you. So self-acceptance helps you become more comfortable in your authenticity being expressed. And when you accept who you are beyond those societal, familial expectations,
Mm.
Also accept all of you because you start to realize the power that brings and provides. You start to tap into, and we talked about this in the last episode, that intelligence that exists within all of us. We have this divine blueprint that exists, and we have this sourcing to connect to that feeds and fuels us. And that's that power that I'm talking about. You realize the power that brings because you come back to yourself and you start to have this awareness of yourself because you start to accept the truth of who you truly are. And so you realize the power, you become empowered, you start to become much more compassionate with yourself through self-acceptance. You like, oh wow, okay, I see that very clearly. I see that maybe I respond in this way because, of experiences that I've had in my life. And you become compassionate in the allowance of those things. You don't pick it apart. You start to accept it. And you become even more resolute in who you are because it's like, I know who I am and I know what I am not. Once you really start to accept who you are beyond this outer world and how it's telling you how you need to be or who you need to be. So this matters because from that, you become comfortable with yourself through this level of self-awareness. Self-acceptance, it leads to this self-awareness, a level of awareness with yourself. You start to have this level of awareness where you tap into what you were speaking about. The Warrioress here was speaking about around intuition. You start to have this awareness. You start to be aware of the nuances that exist in the world around you. And the thing about self-awareness is that it requires the self-acceptance. You have to accept yourself. And once you start to accept yourself, you become much more aware. And you also become aware of what is the truth and what is a false belief.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
So it goes back to you have chosen to abandon, avoid, and quiet yourself. You become aware of that and you accept like, oh, wow, I did those things. It's okay. It's all okay. So the why here around authenticity, being authentic is you need to be with you. You have to be with you. You have to learn about you. You have to become the project of being. So you're aware that you become aware that things line up in such a perfected way because you're tapped into yourself on such a divine way. You're in tune with your intuition and you trust yourself. You start to build that trust. You start to build your capacity to trust yourself because you accept yourself, because you have a level of self-awareness. And that's why the self-acceptance piece is so critical in self-awareness. And because going back to the project of being you, because you are not being in spite of self, but rather inspired. I think that's a huge part that a lot of people kind of feel like that longing or like, oh, there has to be more than this. It's that because you're not being in spite of self, but rather inspired by yourself. And so when you look at the word inspired, because I was like, what does inspired mean, right? Not assuming everyone knows what inspired means here. Inspired, and I was led to look this word up. And so I find this quite interesting. Inspired means outstanding or brilliant in a way or to a degree of divine inspiration. And I was like, oh, divine inspiration. I was like, there we go. So the last episode, we defined what divine is from or proceeding from God or of God, source, universe, energy, fill in the word that you want to define that, what that is. And so divine inspiration is inspiration meaning influence. So we have this divine influence that we're inspired with being with ourselves. And so that divine influence, it reminds us of the greatness of ourselves. So that's the power of self-awareness and self-acceptance, starting to accept that it's okay to be with myself, that I can be inspired versus in spite of, and you will be in alignment with that divine influence that I speak of here. And so going a bit deeper, going back to authenticity here, authenticity is bigger than we can begin to understand. I think it's bigger than that. And you start to understand that it's bigger than what the outside world, kind of the narrative around that. And it goes back to what, the Alchemist here was talking about, the Christ self within. That's what it is. It's bigger than our human capacity to understand it. And being with yourself helps you to understand that it's bigger than my human expression. And so it's in the beginning that we start to accept that we were inspired and thus influenced, and we are inspired and empowered by the proceeding from God. So if we are this authentic expression and connection to God, what does that mean? There's so much more to us than the outward world can tell us. And I think a really good resource is talked about it last time, is the 7 main aspects of God. It breaks down these different aspects that exist of God. And I find that it's by Emmett Fox for those listening. And then the mental equivalent here, I really do feel like these 2 books are like the code of self-acceptance and also self-awareness on a deep, deep soul level. It can help you understand what the beingness of you means and how it's expressed within the world that we live in. And so because we are inspired by, because we're influenced by that divine influence, because we have that Christ consciousness, that Christ essence that exists within us. We have that power and that capacity that is innate within us. We have that inner authority, that divine intelligence, that divine healing intelligence. And so we come from source. I think that's an indication that we come from source. So when you start to accept that you're more than just your human expression, and how can you be with learning about you, making your project of being, so you become aware of this divine influence, of the power and the capacity that you have, that you come from source, you tap into such your authenticity. And we go back to what authentic means. It's like your true one spirit. Like if you look it up, true one spirit. What does spirit mean? It's one of the main aspects of God's source universe in this book by Emmett Fox. So our one true expression cannot be tainted. When you go into this book, it talks about what is this aspect of God. And this is an aspect of who you are, speaking specifically in terms of your authentic expression. And this one true expression, it cannot be tainted. It cannot be a disappointment. The outer world will tell you like, oh, well, you look like this or you think this way, da, 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 da. It starts to taint that one true expression, which is your spirit. Your spirit is what your authenticity is. It's your spirit speaks to you. It's your intuition, as I see it. I think your spirit speaks through you and what we as humans define as intuition. And so what we make matter can also wear out when we think of this one true expression, that it can't be tainted. We can't be disappointed. But then we struggle with being who we are in this world. And It's because we make things matter outside of ourselves. It wears us out in such a way because we're not in alignment. So if we go back to authentic, being authentic is true to one's spirit. Spirit is your substance, and substance is a harmony and peace, and it's that alignment that I talk about. And then we have this essence, which is the quality that makes you who and what you are. And then the value that creates of the substance and the essence is that's what you add to the world. Because you have this spirit of substance and essence, you have value to the world. That's the authenticity of who you are. And getting to a level of self-acceptance, accepting, oh, okay, this is a truth, and becoming aware of what those qualities are, you can start to become empowered and be powered by the one true source. We got some feedback going on your end. I don't know what happened.
I don't know. It's quiet here.
So the why here is when we accept ourselves as the unique being from the divine, there is so much comfort in that. This is why this all matters. And we're all craving that. We're all seeking that. And it's because we're seeking things outside of ourselves. And if we come home to ourselves, that's what people say, we'll come home to yourself and be with yourself, be in silence, connect with your spirit. It's so much comfort in that. And I've experienced that when I've gotten to a level of self-awareness and self-acceptance, really the self-acceptance piece. It allowed me to feel more fully aware of the true essence, the substance and authenticity that's expressed through me because I am of spirit. And thus, true to one's spirit, it is of God. It comes from God. And when we stop hiding from ourselves, because there is nothing that needs hiding rather, when we are in the trueness of ourselves, it's just this beautiful, wonderful, connected expression. So God, divine source, it makes no mistakes. It goes back to God is spirit. And spirit is true to one spirit, that one true expression. It cannot be tainted or disappointed. So there's nothing wrong with you. That's when we say there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. Because there was no mistake made in how you are being expressed, how you're being expressed in the attributes. So we have the substance, and the substance plus the attribute makes us the human being. And the substance is our beingness, and the attributes are our human expression. And those together innately say, because we are made from that substance, that there's nothing wrong with us. There was not a mistake in any parts of our attributes that we should ever feel those, let's say, lower vibrations of expressed human emotions. Any disdain or anger or disappointment. And when we remember who we are, like truly and fully who we are, life opens up in such a way because we're in alignment. We're aligned with the substance of ourselves, and then we're also in alignment with the attributes. We allow them to be as they are. There's nothing wrong with me. And you allow that essence that exists within the substance to be authentically expressed. There's a level of ease that comes, and that's why it's so important to get to a level of self-acceptance, to accept, okay, there's nothing wrong with me. I'm here on purpose because I'm here. So therefore, I have innate value. How can I become more aware of that substance and how the substance is thus in addition to how I am being expressed through the attributes that exist? And When we choose to be everything we are not, we disrespect the rightness of our design. It goes back to the phrase that you like to say all the time from Iyanla Vanzant about, and this is not even a her thing. Actually, I heard it long before her. Like, the most violent thing that you can do to yourself is to compare yourself to other people. So the world has the problem. I would say that, not you. And feeling like you need to be to fix you will always lead to you feeling unhappy, because we were happily and lovingly designed in the way we are meant to just be, because we already are as we were always meant to be. And it should take no effort in being who your authentic self, and in that is so much relief. When you start to feel like, oh, okay, I can be me. It's okay to be me. There's nothing wrong with me. There's nothing tainted about me. Even regardless of what the world is telling me, the fact that I exist, that I'm made from this substance, that I'm from God, source, divine, I matter, I have value. This matters because, and why this is the conversation for today, is when you spend so much time attempting to avoid your spiritual expression, the world misses out on you being fully expressed. Mm-hmm. And that has an impact of God's presence in undeniable and consistently felt and seen and heard in the world. And this can be a lighthouse for people or a activation for other people, because they see you fully accepting of who you are. And I wrote this note too, and I'll close out, finish my little spiel here. And that is, I wrote here, we are not the experiences pushed upon us. Because I know a lot of times we get so caught up in these experiences that are pushed upon us by other people. And we have to we have to accept those experiences just from the understanding of being aware of the impact that it has. How we are maybe choosing to not express our authentic self because maybe it didn't feel safe to be that because of other people pushing into that. And it's our responsibility to be with ourselves. It's our responsibility to take care of our body. It's our responsibility to be very clear what that is. And the reminder here and why it matters and how you get there is to remember where you have come from. And there's a lot of tools and resources that can help you figure that out. That's all I have.
Ah, that was mighty awesome. I mean, it's just the rightness to go deep, because you matter. We all matter. And once you understand how much you matter, to take the time to connect with yourself. I'll share something else. I was here in A Course in Miracles about the lessons, because a lot of it comes from is connecting with the true self, is that we are not the body. Now I understand that I like my body and that I could tell it and whatever to do, but I am really more than that, and separating or transcending from the ego self, which ego, and that means I. It's like the I of you is like I this, I that, and being a Tauran is like I have is the term for I have. But separating from the I part of you and connecting with the truth that recognizes the reality by letting go of our fears, grievances, and the belief in separation, because we are not separated. Some of us have experienced stuff that we can relate to, but it's not going to be the same thing because we're not in each other's body, but can have a recollection to be able to have compassion with one another's how we connect. Also, and choosing the Holy Spirit, which in metaphysics means right mind. Getting the right mind, like it says, I'm not a, I forget what scripture about, about being in the right mind. And when we're in chaos and in dysfunction or arguing or fighting, we are not in that mind of that brings us peace and joy. Uh, as it says here, the focus on recognizing the peace and joy of you because you matter, of self, and finding contentment as in being what God source creator created you to be, and how that is because you are, like she said, the spirit. So I just have some things as we have shared with you, a couple of questions to reflect on, and then we'll get into how to kind of do some things for you afterwards. Is to get outside the world, to shut off the electronics. And you might have heard this more than once, to shut off the phone and to sit with you, which I think we find to be the hardest things to do. And I say that from personal experience, even being the word I am, to sit in the silence, to sit still, or have some really, really soothing music where you can write, where you can connect, where you can journal. So I wanted to share or propose a couple of questions for you to consider. Circle one, and one is like, what challenge that I have here do you face, or do you feel aligning with your own and divine true self, as you go back and listen or have listened to what we've shared with you on that aspect? And what's the other one I wanted? Or have you ever had an experience where you felt a deeper sense of truth beyond, everyday beliefs out here in the world? And then, unless you have any other questions, I'll just throw out some things for you real quick, to think about, to reflect and share. And I encourage that if you have any comments to go ahead, or experience, to go ahead and put them in the comments. I wanted to propose what I call on my thing is some God action steps to consider. And one of them is, if something landed here with you today, let yourself kind of pause with it and come. And then if you choose to share it with us, because I think sharing is caring, because we never know. Because as our dear, and I love her. I mean, and there's other people, but I really like her quote. Said, if it's in the chairs, in the room. So
Very true.
yeah. So if you shared, you never know whether somebody's feeling the same way, because definitely sharing is caring. And also, I'd like you to drop in the comments if you have, if anything that captured you with this episode, what has unlocked for you, and also tell us what part of the conversation kind of stirred you up in a good way.
Or just in a way.
Yeah, in a way. And if someone has come to mind through this listening, just trust and give that nudge and share this with them. So I don't know if I had any other reflections I wanted to say. And then I'll just pose this to you. What are you ready to see differently? As I continue to do that, because we continue to grow and become better versions of ourselves, and we have to sit down and do the questions. I didn't like them, but I found out to have joy and to find peace. And then my freedom bracelet and to sit in integrity with yourself is to do the work, because you matter. I'll keep saying it, you matter.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Those are all helpful self-acceptance ways and means to get to that. So I say, pick one, do them all, meet yourself wherever you are. You know your capacity. But it's your responsibility. And I am going to be I'm very stern in that way when people work with me. And I tell people there's going to be times where you may be like, this girl right here, like, she's a lot. I speak the honest truth because I know the power, like I see the power that exists within people, and you have to be honest about the things that may be distracting them from realizing that. So pick what resonates, push yourself here. It's your responsibility to save yourself. We're just providing hopefully the inspiration, something to sit with, something to chew on, watch it, rewatch it, take responsibility for your own life, because no one's going to save you. We want you to save yourself. We 100% know that you have the capacity to save yourself because you're here and you matter. I'll throw out a few woo-woo ones real quick. It's going to be really quick to get to a level of understanding who you are. Woo-woo, astrology is helpful. Human design is helpful. Those are a few ones that I can throw out there, like getting your astrology read. Those help you to really kind of articulate some things that the planetary alignments and things of that nature kind of show up. And I've had a reading, she's had a reading, and it's been really kind of like, oh, wow, that puts words to what I've kind of have experienced in my life as well. So those are some woo-woo ones. Pick your level of access that feels comfortable. And we just want to say thank you all for listening. If you made it this far, we really appreciate you. We hope that you will become a part of our channel. If you're watching on the YouTube channel here, be sure to like and subscribe and comment, share. As she said previously, share, but share and then also ask them to subscribe to the channel as well. Link down below if you want to reach out to us is down below in the description bar as well. So we'll leave it there. We hope to see you in the next episode. Thanks for hanging with us, and we'll see you next time.
Much love and peace, y'all.